honestly, I'm feeling a little bit down today. Filming is usually something that I do to either keep me feeling good or to make me feel better when I'm not feeling great. So I figured I should probably film something today, and I don't really have it in me to do like a super organized, like scripted kind of content thing today, so you're just going to get this. These are just going to be a bunch of spicy book/booktube related opinions that I've just been sitting on. Yeah. So today I'm just gonna tell you a bunch of shit that I have had boiling up inside of me and that frankly nobody else says on booktube because, like, I'm sorry, but like most of y'all don't actually have unpopular opinions. Audiobooks aren't reading. Audiobooks are not reading. We're starting off an opinions video with a fact that has become so controversial for some reason that people forget that it is literally fact. Neurologically, listening to a story does something different in your brain than reading the words to get the story does. Like, this is literally why when you do language training and like trying to acquire a new language, there is listening where you listen to people talk, and then there is reading where you read words. All of these are separate categories of skills in language that you have to develop. I don't really understand why people don't get this or why they're so determined to bury this. I think people are kind of insecure about the fact that like they're just listening to stories being read to them rather than like actually like their eyes going over the words and picking up the words themselves. Maybe because they're insecure that their reading abilities are degrading and they can kind of feel it. And people will always, like, I hate hearing people say shit that's just like, oh, well, yeah, you're still like absorbing a story, right? So any manner of absorbing a story is reading? Is watching pornography reading if there's a plot?
When I was a lad, I served a term as office boy to an attorney's firm. I cleaned the windows and I swept the floor, and I polished up the handle of the big front door.
I'm just wondering, like, I actually, like, would really love to fucking know. Well, actually, no, I'm not wondering, because I'm right and you're wrong. Just because things are different forms of storytelling does not mean that all consumption of some kind of story is the same thing as reading. Reading is a distinct category. That's my first thing that everybody needs to absorb now. Audiobooks literally are not reading. Just because book is in the title doesn't mean it's reading. Neurologically, something different is happening in your brain when you listen to a story than when you actually open up a book or an ebook and you read a story. I don't really give a shit if you're like counting audiobooks in your Goodreads challenge, BT dubs. Like, this is like not that. But like, you do need to know that it's not the same thing as reading a book if you listen to an audiobook. Like, it's just not. Okay, also, while we're on the topic of like just popular like reader discourses, ebooks are not more environmentally friendly than traditional books. If you think about an ebook versus a regular book is a single or maybe double expenditure of power and a draw on resources, right? So it is produced a single time and ultimately it is disposed of a single time. And so there are like two major, like, shall we say, like carbon outputs that are associated with producing a physical book. An ebook, on the other hand, draws on power like literally as many times as you will ever use your e-reader. Every time you connect your e-reader to the internet, that's a draw on power. The internet is not this like magical orb of power that just is like there. Like, there ultimately has to be something powering the web. Like, and it is a massive source of like carbon output and environmental harm. Using the internet is not an environmentally neutral action. And so if you think about it, literally every time you are connecting that e-reader to the internet, every single time you are charging it, like just in an outlet with electricity, you're drawing on resources and you are causing more carbon to be put into the atmosphere. Also, if you think about it, like the actual resources needed to produce an ebook, we're talking about like mining and all kinds of like things where the resources needed to build it are coming from harder to reach places. A book is basically made up of like paper and glue, and there are some chemicals used, but it's mostly relatively easy to access and replenish resources, whereas an e-reader is made of a lot of harder to reach stuff, the kind of stuff that makes up electronics. And also, just from a consumer perspective, physical books, it's like a one-time expenditure, and then you basically get infinite amounts of use out of them until they fall apart. Also, with like book banning, it is a lot harder for like the powers that be to control the spread of a physical book than it is to control the spread of a digital book. What's happening with movies right now, where everything is behind a subscription service and a paywall, that can also happen with books. I don't use ebooks, so I don't know if this is like already happening. Like it might be turning into something like movies where digital versions are getting altered by the companies that are selling them. The push to make book reading electronic, I think, is like a really, really big mistake, and I think it's a big mistake for pretty much the same reason as like pushing for all like movies to be electronic. Owning physical media is very, very powerful and very important. Ebooks are not like this great environmental or consumer alternative compared to physical books. I honestly think that physical books, just like in general, are better for all the reasons that I just mentioned. I already mentioned that I think BookTube is like a conservative space and that I'm gonna probably make a video like talking about it in greater depth. But BookTube is like a very anti-feminist conservative space, even though a lot of booktubers talk about things in like progressive, I can't do quotes because I'm ripping this cucumber apart. But even though a lot of booktubers talk about things in like progressive sounding language, most of them demonstrably really are not progressive, just in terms of like their approach to the environment, the way that they talk about misogyny, the deafening silence from pretty much everybody when Roe v. Wade fell. Like, I don't know, I just think it's like really interesting that like nobody was recommending books about abortion and no one but me is putting links to abortion resources in their description. And maybe it's because like booktubers just like don't have sex.
I polished up that handle so carefully, but now I am the ruler of the Queen's Navy. I polished up that handle so carefully, but now he is the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
I do get like a very fundamentalist vibe from like many of like the really big OG booktubers. People like forget a lot the like religiosity of like the major booktubers and how that like middle America religiosity may be informing the way that they approach their book recommendations. Booktubers who disparage feminism, booktubers who make girl boss jokes, woman booktubers who degrade themselves and like sexualize themselves in like every single video. I don't think this is like because all of these people are crypto make America great again people. I think that internet algorithms like prioritize content which ultimately dehumanizes and which is at least in agreement with conservatism. Would be kind of more hard pressed to find truly leftist liberal content on the internet. And I think part of it also is that right now we are in like a massive conservative backlash against feminism, and so part of it is just, you know, the booktubers who are giving people what they want, which is, you know, calling every woman who doesn't want to be barefoot and pregnant with the personality of a living sex doll a girl boss. You know, that is what people want to hear, so those people just do better on here. When I do find rarely booktubers who are talking about anti-capitalism or talking about leftism, the more popular ones who are doing even that are still like doing something else that is in agreement with conservatism. So they're either saying homophobic things that are veiled by progressive language, saying kind of like dehumanizing racial language, or the biggest one that I notice almost overwhelmingly in literally like every single booktuber is just like misogyny. Like, I really truly think booktube is an extremely hostile place to women and girls. It just like breaks my heart because I know that there are a lot of women and girls in this space. I know that I was in this space growing up. Even though I didn't make videos, I watched a lot of booktube, and I don't know, overall I found it very just like stressful and uncomfortable to watch. I didn't know why at the time. I think booktube is conservative. I'll talk more about it in the video that I said I would make a while back because people in the comments said they would be interested in that, but literally me writing the script is killing my soul, so I have to do it slowly. Another fucking thing that I want to talk about, if I walk into a bookstore and I see a as seen on Book Talk section, like, bro, I'm not gonna buy anything. These book covers for like romances, I'm getting real tired of seeing it. Like, I don't know why you would make the cover of your like steamy whatever romance look like it is in the same art style as like the corporate PSAs that people have to watch once a quarter that like tell you how not to do insider trading. I'm sorry, because like when I want to read something like steamy and fun, the last thing that I want to see is artwork that is that sanitized. It makes me want to die. I'm like, why is there sex in this corporate PSA? I don't know. Similarly, I'm getting like very tired of like debut literary fiction that has like fucking titles like Woman Eating or the Heavy Metal Breast, the woman who became a killer whale / shark, or the poetry of armpit hair. It's always got this like kind of obscure painting, right? That's like the cover, and it's like an old buxom woman, you know, like her tits are spilling out and there's pomegranate juice running down her face, and there's like some kind of dynamic looking like text, like impact placed over the painting, and that's the title of the book. And it's every time it's like this provocative, darkly funny. That's what they always fucking say. This is what MFA students write about when they don't know what to write about, because I'm just telling you, every single fucking time I've read one of these books, I've been disappointed. Except for the first time it was done, which was My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. And if you're an MFA student watching this, I just need you to know that you will never be Otessa Moshfegh. It's too late. She did it first. She did it first, and you should think of your own shit to do. Every single time I open one of these, it's like positing itself like it's gonna be this like dark, women can be evil and weird too, right? Kind of thing. And then I open it up and it's about like, you know, some like 20-something and how hard it is to be a 20-something woman, and how she's like a coquette female manipulator, like blah 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 blah. She like has like no personality, and it's like the author is always too scared to actually write her thinking or saying anything actually fucked up, because they've never thought anything fucked up in their life. Like, I remember in Nobody Somebody Anybody, the fucked up thing was that she was like stealing someone's mail. Bro, either she's killed someone or I don't want to hear it. And always they've got like an eating disorder, but it's supposed in like a self-aware way somehow. The book begins and ends without anything really happening, or like maybe they realize, this is really common too, they realize that what they wanted all along was to have a child with some sweaty nobody that they met on Tinder within the last 20 pages of the book, and so they get pregnant. And then it's like their real thing that they wanted the whole time was just to like be a mother. I hate it. I hate literary fiction now. The other reason that I hate literary fiction now is that every time I've picked up literary fiction in the past year, with maybe like 1 or 2 exceptions, every single fucking time I pick it up, It's got so much, like, I think this is because of COVID, but there's so much culture war bullshit in it, and, like, a lot of it, I wouldn't, like, mind it if it was actually interesting, and if any of them had anything interesting to say, but they literally don't have anything interesting to say. I was reading Companion Piece by Ali Smith. It's, like, really weird, because, like, the main character is, like, supposed to be this, like, reclusive artistic genius, but she's, like, making all of these commentaries on, like, COVID and, like, masking and, like, pronouns and ability and fascism or whatever, and she's, like, saying all this stuff, but none of it, like, amounts to anything. It just kind of sounds like the author, like, lifted a bunch of stuff from, like, Twitter, somebody else's, like, semi-poetic drunk 3 a.m. monologue that they went on about, like, the magic of they them pronoun. Like, she literally goes on this rant about they them pronouns, but it has nothing to do with the plot or, like, herself as a character or anything that's happening, and she's just like, it's supposed to be this magical moment where she preaches it to these random people at her doorstep who are like, can you please help us find our missing mom? And then, like, in Identity, one of the two main characters is a professor, and she, like, goes to she, like, does a debate with Jordan Peterson, and, like, the whole debate is, like, written out in the book, and there's literally a moment where it's like the professor, like, beats him in the debate or something, and, like, she, like, winks at the camera, and then everybody claps, and it, like, turns into a meme somehow. I don't have any notes. I literally can't read literary fiction anymore because it has cringy, like, shit like that. What do you even do? What do you even do? Like, there are so many times I pick up literary fiction and there will be characters in it that are literally only there to exist as some dehumanized archetype of what the author thinks people of a particular political slant are. In Companion Piece, literally everybody except for the main character was like this jockey Trump supporter. It's in the UK. Like, you know, the UK equivalent of like a jock Trump supporter who doesn't know how to fucking read somehow and is, you know, a trust fund baby and is like shallow and wants to go to parties and likes to bully art kids. It's becoming too much for me. It all reeks of narcissism, just a refusal to see other people's humanity.
As office boy, I made such a mark that they gave me the post of a junior clerk. I served the writs with a smile so bland, and I copied all the letters in a big round hand.
None of the commentary is actually intelligent. I actually genuinely wish that we had people that were writing about the current political situation in like a more complex and like thoughtful and interesting way. But I think you're just like kind of not allowed to do that now. I like literally don't want to read literary fiction anymore. Sometimes I'll pick something up like Companion Piece without realizing it's technically literary fiction. Culture war stuff is literally ruining my life though. I think you shouldn't be allowed to publish a book if you have Twitter. I just think that reading needs to be like an insane, tortured soul hobby again, because then publishing companies would be forced to actually start putting out like interesting books with things to say again, instead of putting things out for either terminally online Twitter brain rot people who say that they're leftist but can't even remember to bring their reusable shopping bags to the grocery store, or for adult man/woman children who never matured past the age of 16. Like, the books just suck. Word on the grapevine is that, like, literally just you go into Barnes & Noble and 90% of it just sucks ass. Because books are being targeted towards this, like, 1% of Christian fundamentalist adult children on BookTube. Like, these people are low-key walking book bans with the way that they approach challenging texts and the power that they have to make people boycott texts. Like, they're being targeted towards this 1% of very, very maladjusted people. There's only so long that people will obey them when they say to buy horrible books. The horrible books that they think are polite and pure enough to recommend. Yeah, I just think it's bad. I think we need to make reading an insane person hobby again, and I really wish there were more, like, I wish BookTube actually had more kind of like socially aggressive weirdos on it. I think we need like more just like kind of mean women on BookTube who monitor their comments and aren't looking to like make it big, but just want to like express their opinions. I have like 1 or 2 channels that I really, really like. There's too much forced ambiguity in literary fiction too. That's the other reason I can't fucking stand it. Like, I have picked up so much literary fiction recently where they don't write the fucking ending. They leave it on this like cliffhanger and the book just ends. Just say you're too fucking lazy to write the ending. There's like 6 chapters missing here. That is the worst fucking trend, and I know it's because they're just forcing those degrees through. My ultra mega conspiracy theorist opinion, like literally unhinged, like drank too much opinion, would be they're making books bad on purpose so that people stop reading and get stupider and easier to control. Or they're making books worse to make leftist ideas intentionally look way, way more cringe than they actually are, to swing the country further to the right. Because again, I've said it once and I've said it again, publishing is an incredibly conservative industry. It is funded by a ton of super conservative dollars. Do not presume that things coming from big publishers are progressive. Also, my last thing is the reason that BookTube is dying is because 99% of the content is boring as shit. Most people on here are just kind of unfunny and uncreative, like especially the bigger channels. The only channels that I find watchable every single fucking time, it's like 3,000 subscribers or lower. I can't watch anybody that gets bigger. They just start acting fucking weird. I think the algorithm is giving people brain worms. I have always said to myself that if this channel got too big, I would just literally nuke everything and start over somewhere else. Because I don't know what happens to people, but I am not about to start walking and talking like an advertisement, okay? Y'all will never see me with a sponsored video. This is the real shit, okay? If you want to hear about books that suck, first of all, you should watch my Life After Genius video, and second of all, you should come here, because I've got the real shit. No publishing company is gonna give me money to talk about a book, because I'm too stubborn, and you're gonna hear the truth right here. Honestly, like, I make BookTube content, but I really don't, like, watch it a ton, because, like, 99% of the time, I just gotta listen to some, like, horrible anti-feminist shit. Like, it's either, like, abuse apologism, or it's, like, people talking about how, like, this and that feminist speaker needs to die because she's problematic for whatever reason, and then, of course, I always look it up, and it's, like, something taken wildly out of context, or just shit that's been made up. This is my story. I think that's actually all I really have for my unpopular onions. I hope that this in some way was enjoyable or cathartic for you if you're like me and you are just like tired of all this garbage. Yeah, this is just the way that I feel. Yeah, I don't know. That's it. Bye.
I grew so rich that I was sent by a pocket borough into Parliament. I always voted at my party's core, and I never thought of thinking for myself at all.